we're in the middle of discussing the Dor HaMabul and the Dor HaPeloga. That the Zohar says that the Torah should have been given in the Dor HaMabul, if not for the fact that they were mekalkel. And on the other hand, we see that Torah Shebal Peh developed in Bavel mainly, and Bavel is the place that we refer to as Eretz Shinor, that the Meisei Mabul Ninaru Uba'u L'Shom. We were saying that what makes the Dor HaMabul, the Dor that was meant to receive the Torah, because in order to receive Torah Shebechsav, one needs to be humble. He needs the less sense of self one has, the more he's willing to accept, to take instructions. And therefore, but the Dor HaMabul was mekalkel, and they came to the extreme of feeling moisar ha'odam min ha'behema oyin ki ha'koil hovel, and therefore they were nichshal in avodah zarah, in gilui arayis, in shvichas damim, mola ha'oretz chamos, which is an expression of a person feeling that he's just like a behemoth. On the other hand, for Torah Shebal Peh, there's a requirement of a Talmud Chacham needs to have a shminis shebeshminis of gaiva. The Torah Shebal Peh, one has to have a sense of self. He has to believe that through his human mind, he could be megale chochmosai uritzoinoi shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He's partnering with the Rabbeinu Shalom in the revelation of Torah, and therefore in Eretz Shinor, where the Meisei Mabul were Ninaru Bo L'Shom, they built the Migdal, Nasel Onu Shein. They went to the other extreme. They developed the exaggerated sense of self. But that's what is required for Torah Shebal Peh. That's why Torah Shebal Peh develops in Bavel. Obviously, if you go to the extreme of Moisar Ha'odam and Abehema Oyin, it comes to Mola Ha'aretz Chamos. And if you go to the extreme of self, then it comes to Nasa Lonu Shem, building a Migdal V'Roishe B'Shamayim. So it's really that we need to combine the Az Kanomer, which represents Yavon, and together with the Boishes Ponim Ligan Eden, Yidden are Azin Shebu'umais, and at the same time, we say that Yidden are Rachmonim, Baishonim, and Goim Chasodim, and when you bring those two together, you become a recipient for Torah Shebechsav and Torah Shebal Peh. Okay, in any case, that's what we were discussing, and we were explaining that Torah Shebal Peh, the Ike Gilui of Torah Shebal Peh, was in the time of Bayis Sheni, as the Sefer Hecholoi says, that the Hodor and the Kavod of Torah was revealed during the time of Torah Shebal Peh, was revealed during the time of Bayis Sheni. Mikan ve'elech hat oznecha ushma divrei chachomim. So this came in the context of a clash with Yavon, because Yavon is the Sfir ha'izim. Yavon has Azus, and Azus is necessary for Torah Shebal Peh, as the Maharal says, that without that, somebody that's Muchen ala Chochma has to have Azus, because Azus gives us the courage to aspire to something that's beyond us, whereas somebody that has no Azus, says the Maharal, is just wrapped up in himself, and he doesn't reach out to attain Chochma, which is by definition something that's beyond us. So we needed to develop Azus, and it's with the Milchama against Yavon. as Reb Tzadok says, that the Nitzuach Kol Uma is al yidei klitas hashoresh hatoiv mimenu l'kedusha. We actually took on the shoresh hatoiv of Yavon, which is the midah of Azus, and that's what enabled us to reveal Torah Shebal Peh, Torah Shebal Peh. And now I want to explain that this has to do with, and by the way, this is also the idea that they say umimenu nikach lavoy des Hashem, that says Moshe Rabbeinu says to Paroi that we sometimes need to take mimenu from the opposite side. We need to take what it takes lavoy des Hashem. You know, vayinatzlu es Mitzrayim is really also in the sense of utilizing the miles that Mitzrayim has. Every encounter with the Tzad Keneged is we are meant to be yoytze from with a rechush godol. Vayigzol esachanis miyad hamitzri. In any case, we know that we thank the Rebbeinu Shalom not only on the Nisim, on the Yeshuas, but also al ha-milchamos. So you see that the milchama in itself has a positive value, and that's because in the context of a milchama, both sides, in a sense, get closer, and that's like we say, "Vayeovek ish imoy." Vayeovek, says Rashi, is a loshon of kishur, because just like we know that hamisavik im hamenuvel misnavel, but in the positive sense, that's what Reb Tzadok is saying, that we're koilet the shoresh hatoiv from the other side. Now this milchama came al yidei kohanecha hakdoshim. Al yidei kohanecha hakdoshim. Why? Why dafke al yidei kohanecha hakdoshim? You know, Rashi says in Parsha Shmini on the pasuk Krav El HaMizbeach, Shohoya Aharon Bosh. He was embarrassed. He was shy. The Yorei Logeshes. He was afraid to do the avodah. Omaloi Moshe Lama Ata Bosh. Lakach Nifcharta. This is what you were chosen for. So we see that Aaron had the midah of Boshes Panim Legan Eden to the extent that he didn't feel worthy even to do what he was meant to do. And this midah is the opposite, the polar opposite of the asponim that the Maharal says is mesim ponov el hakoil, is willing to undertake anything and goes beyond his natural place. Aaron was boish. Now, since the Ma'arocha against Yavon was in order that we acquire the midah of Azus from the Nomer Shoyked Alorehem, and in acquiring the midah of Azus, there's always a sakana that will pass the gvul and will go too far in acquiring the midah of Azus. Therefore, it was Dafke Zera Aaron that were chosen, that they should be carrying out this milchama against Yavon, the Koyanecha Akdoshim, because their natural midah of Busha will balance the Azus. And now we understand also why Aaron didn't participate in the Chanukah Sanesim. That was because he had the midah of Busha. He was too ashamed, he was too shy to volunteer to do something that he wasn't told. I mean, we see that he wasn't even, he didn't have the courage to do what he was told. So he didn't have the azus to be misnadik. And it's more than that. The pasuk says in Shir Hashirim, Basi legani achoisi kalo, orisi moiri im besami, ochalti yari im divshi, shosisi yeni im chelbi, ichlu reim shesu v'shikru doidim. I'm not going to translate the pasuk, but I'm going to tell you what Rashi says. Basi legani. Hashem is saying, I came to my garden. B'yemei Chanukah Sabayis. That's when this happened. Orisi lokatati. I picked. V'hu loshen Mishnah, Kimloi oira saloi. V'nemar al shem ha'ktoires, she'ektiru ktoras yochid, hanesiim al mizbeach hachitzen v'neskablo. So there were two problems with this ktoris. It was a ktoris yochid, and it was mukter on the mizbeach hachitzen. And afal pikein, nevertheless, HaKadosh Baruch Hu received it. V'hu davar she'enoi noyeg l'doris, v'al kein nemar, ochalti yari im divshi, yesh dvash, shu godel b'konim, ke'inyin she'nemar b'yaras hadvash, v'yaras hi loshen kone, u'moitzitzin hadvash, u'mashlichin ha'etz, v'ani miroiv chibo. The Rebbeinu Shalom says that because of his great love for Klal Yisrael, ochalti yari im divshi, so to speak, kaviyachol, he ate the kone that holds the dvash together with the dvash. Ochal hakone im advash, es she'enoi ro'ui im haro'ui, and that is k'toris nedova. V'chein se'irei chatos she'ikrivu hanesiim, v'ein chatos kreiva nedova, v'ani kibaltim boi bayoim. So we see that in the nidvas hanesiim, things that were inappropriate were done. It was, this nedova wasn't just a nedova, but it was outside the halachic guidelines and boundaries. It's only because of the special chiba on the Yom Chanukah Samishkin that HaKadosh Baruch Hu accepted it. So the nidvas hanesiim was really an expression of azus dikdusha, to go beyond and do what doesn't fit, that doesn't fit the strict guidelines. And Memela Avada Aaron, that was boish milogeshes, and he had to be told kravel hamazbeach, even boish milogeshes, even for what is appropriate. Avada, that he held back from being misnadev what wasn't appropriate. But when he saw that their korbanos were accepted, so he felt bad about his boishes panim that held him back and held back his shevet from this hiskarvus. That's why Aaron was mitzvah chol shos daitoi sheloi hoya hu v'shiftoi in the Chanukah Sanasiyim. In other words, it happened because he was a boish logeshes. He didn't have that azaz likdusha, and he felt bad that he has that busha that prevented him from being mishtatev with the Chanukah Sanasiyim. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells him shelcho gedoyla mishalohem, and as the Medrash says, which means that dafke, because of the boishes panim, the Zera Aharon will be able to acquire the midah of azus kanomer in the Ma'aroche against Yovon, and that's the Shelcho Kayomin La'olam, as the Ramban says in the name of a Medrash, that the Neiros Chanukah, which will be brought about through the Koyanecha Akdoshim, will be Kayim La'olam. What made Aharon the one? What made the Zera Aharon the ones that were chosen to clash with the Yevonim, that had the ability to do so? It was because they had the midah of boishes panim that balanced the azus that needed to be attained in this, through this clash. And memela is azoi. You know, it says in Kadmoinim on the pasuk v'hu yi elachol peh, which says about Aharon, that Aaron HaKohen is the b'china of Torah shebal peh. Sifsei kohen yishmeru das, Torah yevakshu mi pihu. So kohanim are shayach the Torah shebal peh. And that is, as we said, that Torah shebal peh requires azus panim, and therefore it's given only to somebody that has a natural boishes panim that balances that azus panim, in order that the azus panim shouldn't go beyond the boundaries. So the pasuk says, "Zechor yemois oilom binu shnois dor vador." The Sifri says, "Hizochru masha asisi bedoros rishonim." Be careful and remember what I did with the early generations. Masha asisi ba'anshe dor ha mabul, umasha asisi ba'anshe dor ha pelogo. Binu shnois dor vador means that we should contemplate and think about what happened to the dor hamabul, dor vador, dor hamabul, and the dor hapolog. And as the Sifri continues, Binu shnois dor vador ein lachot dor she'ein boy me'anshei dor hamabul u'me'anshei dor hapolog. And the pasuk continues, Sha'al avicha v'yageitcha zekeinecha v'yomer loch. The Sifri says, Sha'al avicha v'yageitcha. Ask your father and he'll relate to you. Elu neviim. Kinyan shenemar ve'elisha roya v'hu mitzaik avi avi. Zekeinecha v'yomer locha. Elu zekeinim. Kinyan shenemar esfol yishivim ishmi ziknei Yisrael. So the pasuk is telling us to listen to the Nevi'im and to listen to the Zkenim, to listen to the Chachamim. B'hanchel el yoim goyim, yeshehin chil HaKadosh Baruch Hu l'mach'isov es chelik nachlosam, hitzifam v'shotfam. That's the Mabul. Ba'afridoi b'nei Adam, k'shehefetz dar hapalaga. So now we understand why the Sha'ala Vicha V'Yageitcha Zekeinecha V'Yoimru Lach, which is the source of the V'Heichon Tzivonu. This is where we learn from. The Ner Chanukah is right over here between the pasuk of Zchorya Maisoilam, Binu Shnois Dor V'Dor, and the pasuk of B'Hanchel El Yoin Goyim. In the middle, we have the pasuk of Sha'ala Vicha V'Yageitcha, and this is the source for the B'tzivanu of Neres Chanukah. Because this pasuk is telling us to listen to Avicha, which is the Nevi'im, and the Zekeinecha, which is the Chachamim, which means to listen to Torah Shebeksav and Torah Shebal Peh, to take instructions from above and to figure things out from below. The Nevuah of Nevi'im and the Chachma of the Chachamim. The Binu Shnois Dor V'Dor is Mechayiv, both the Keinecha and the Avicha. In other words, the Binu Shnois Dor V'Dor teaches us not to exaggerate and not to go too far, not this way and not that way. In other words, to have the Azus, the Gavlus Haruach, the sense of self in the right measure, and the Shiflus Haruach, the humility in the right measure. Through the Avicha and the Zekeinecha, both these Kilkulim are Mesukin, because the Nevi'im are, we accept the Divrei Nevuah by putting ourselves down, by feeling that we need to get direction, that we need to be told. And on the other hand, we engage in the development of Torah Shebal Peh, mitoich the Hakara of Shminis Shebeshminis of Gaiva. It's Reb Nechemia that darshans in the Medrash Tanchuma B'Doiroisov on these two doras of Dor HaMabul and Dor HaPeloga. He's the one that says that the Makor of the Tzivui for the Takonis Chachamim is in this pasuk. So, Yevonim Nikbitzu Alai. We wanted to know, why do we emphasize Nikbitzu, that they gathered against me, whereas before we talk about Ubo Noiges Vehiglani, he came. Why do we emphasize that the Yevonim gathered? But you see, in Eretz Shinar, we see Vayihi Kol Haaretz Sofa Achas Udvorim Achodim. Vayoyim Hashem Heim Am Echod V'Sofa Achas Lekulam V'Zeh Hachilom La'asois V'Ato Lo Yibotzer Mehem Asa Sheyozmu La'asois. And therefore, HaKadosh Baruch Hu was B'Hafri Doi B'nei Adam. So Dor HaMabul, which was about descending into the level of Moisar Adam and a Behemah, I mean, the man feeling like a beast. So they are mitzad atzmom, separate from each other, because letava yevakesh nifrod. The mavake in the taiva of Bahami is everybody has his own taiva, and there's no real connection between people. But in the Dor HaPeloga, which was Gavos Haruach, and the courage and boldness to be Isaac in intellectual in Yonim. So over there's a Safa Achas Udvarim Achodim, and so also in Yavon, which was about a quest for hasage, for havana, for intellectuality. It's Yevanim nikbitzu alai. They were shaykh to the Dvarim Achodim of the Dor HaPalaga, because in the world of Moskolos, there's an ichud and there's a chibur. Now, upartzu choymois migdolai, because the koshech of Yavan is the chashoicha, which is the zelo umazeh of the nahoira of Torah Shebal Peh. It's like, sagi nohor, Chazal used the expression, which is too much light, it blinds. And that's the choshech of Yavan is relying totally and absolutely on human intellect. And that's the choshech. The ir umigdol v'roishoy magia hashomayim of the Anshe Dor HaPalaga is the umazeh of the migdolai, which is built by the boinayich with the right measure. The ir umigdol is connected as the kenecha v'yoimruloch. And where did they make these protzois? Uportzu choymois migdolai. The Mishnah says in Midas, lefnimi menu soireg. There was some kind of a divider. Gavoya asora tvachim in the Azora. V'yud gimel protzois hoyu sham sheportzum malchei yovon chazru v'gidrum v'gazru kenegdom yud gimel hishtachavois. So why did the Yevonim make these protzois in the soireg dafke? And why 13 dafke? And why did we institute 13 hishtachavois keneged the 13 protzois? But if you look at the Taisus Yontiv, he says that the function of this soireg was to be mavdil between the goyim that came to be mispal in the Beis Hashem and between the Yidden. Lefize, the spiritual root of the soireg is really what the Gemara says in Gittin. Omar Reb Yochanan loikaras HaKadosh Baruch Hu bris im Yisrael elo b'shvil dvarim shebal peh shenema ki al pi hadvarim ha'ele karati bris itcha ve'im Yisrael. So the krisis bris, that's the unique connection that we have with the Rebbeinu Shalom that is mavdil us from others. And as it says in Shemois Rabbah, on the pasuk Echtoiv loy rubei toirosi kemoi zor nechshavu, steht in Medrash, b'shoshen is gala HaKadosh Baruch Hu b'Sinai litein Torah, Omar leMoshe ala seder mikra u'mishnah v'talmud v'agoda v'chulei. Omar loy Moshe Echtoiv oisa lohem b'chsav, should I write all this down? Omar loy loy, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says no. Mipnei shegoloi lefonai she'asidim u'moisa oilam lishloit bohem v'litol oisa mehem v'chulei. Elo hamikre ani noisim b'chsav v'hamishnah v'atalmud v'agoda ani noisim lehem bal peh shim yavoyu u'moisa oilam v'yishtabdu bohem. They shouldn't be able to get the Torah Shebal Peh. So we see that the mavdil between Yisrael and Umas Ha'olam is Torah Shebal Peh al pi advarim ha'elo karati bris, and in the physical sense, this is expressed in the soireg that was the mavdil in the Beis Hashem between the Nochrim Shebol Ispalal and the Yidden. Now Yavon, who's the Azponim, who has his migdal is Magiel Shamayim, he breaches this soireg, because Yavan is the Le'umazeh of Torah Shebal Peh by exaggerating the value of Seichel and lacking the humility that needs to go together with it, and therefore he is pirates choymois migdolai, and maybe that's why he makes 13 protzos, because that's connected the Yud Gimel Midas Shah Torah Nidreshes Bahem, which is the foundation of Torah Shebal Peh. And these protzos are protzos of azus, of too much azus and gaiva and gavus alev, which bring the migdal to an absurd height, which is goyim that it falls apart. And therefore, keneged these protzos that the Yevanim were pirates, tiknu yud gimel hishtachavois, because hishtachava is about hachnoah, subservience, and bittul. I mean, when one is mishtachava, his head and his legs are on the same level. In other words, he recognizes that his head is not that much higher than his legs. In other words, that's the expression of humility. The b'china of ani bar v'loy edo be'emoy so yisimach. So keneged the over the over whatever it is that Yavon had with the human mind, and so we like the Ramban says that the Yavani was megis daitoi, that whatever he wasn't masig b'sichloi, he was sure wasn't there. So keneged that that mahalach of nitzchuni bonei nitzchuni ligrayusa, we were masakin yud gimel ishtachavois, that only through them we with that we can ensure that the azus ponim, which needed to be acquired in this tkufa of Bayis Sheni for the development of Torah Sheba'al Peh, should not go too far. And that's really the parts of Chemes Migdolai v'Timu Kol Hashmanim, because in the pneumistic sense, you know, what's Timu Kol Hashmanim? The Gemara says in Brachas Daf Nun Zayin, Haroya Shemen Zayis b'Chaloim Yitzape l'Chochma. Shemen Zayis symbolizes Chochma. So through the Azus of Yavon, so the Chochma becomes contaminated, and the Neiros will no longer be Meir. But Minoisa Kankanim Nasa Neis La Shoshanim. Why is Klal Yisrael over here referred to as Shoshanim? You know, on the pasuk is Shoshano Bein HaChoichim, like a rose between thorns. Kain Ra Yossi Bein HaBonos. Klal Yisrael is compared to Shoshano Bein HaChoichim. The Zohar says, Ma Shoshano Isbo Tleiser Alin, just like a Shoshana has 13 Alin, Af Knesset Yisrael Isbo Tleiser Mechilin Derachami. We have 13 attributes of mercy. Now, it would seem that the Yud Gimel Midas Ha Rachamim and the Yud Gimel Midas Ha Shater and Idreshes Behem, you know, are shaykh to each other, as the Maggid of Mezrich says that the Yud Gimel Midas Ha Rachamim parallel the Yud Gimel Midas Shater and Idreshes Behem, and through the Asik in the Yud Gimel Midas of Torah Sheba'al Peh, we mamshich and we reveal the Yud Gimel Midas Ha Rachamim. So Lefizeh, and that connects with another Zohar that says that Haroya b'Shoshanim al tikri Shoshanim elo Sheshoinim b'halachos. So Shoshanim represents the Yud Gimel Midas Ha Rachamim, and Shoshanim represents the Yud Gimel Midas Sha'Torah Nidreshes Bahem. And since the Ma'arocha against Yavon was a Ma'arocha for the Gilui of Torah Sheba'al Peh, the Keinecha v'Yoimru Loch, the Azaz the Kedusha, that's against the Azaz the Klipa. So we understand that this nace happened l'Shoshanim b'Halachos, because this was really the point in history where Torah Sheba'al Peh was Nizgala Hoida, Kvoida, Hoida v'Hadora. And in other words, it is happening b'schus the Shoshanim Sheshoinim, and it's happening in order to preserve the Shoshanim Sheshoinim. No, this also has to do with Minoisa Kankanim. Nasa Neis La Shoshanim L'chor, it was all in one Kankan. What's Minoisa Kankanim? You know, on the Mishnah of Al Tistakel B'Kankan Elo B'Masha Yeshboy, it says in the name of Kedoshei Elyon that this is referring to the 13th Midah of the Yud Gimel Midas HaRachamim, which is V'nake Lo Yanake, because V'nake Lo Yanake has the oisius of Kankan. But if you remove the Kuf Nun, then from the word Yanake and V'nake, you have the Shem Havaya left. So that's the Masha Yeshboy. Al Tistakel B'Kankan Elo b'mashe yesh boy, which is the Shem Havaya. Why are we emphasizing this over here? It could be because in the midah of Anake lo Yanake, there's a special emphasis on the shaykhis of the Yud Gimel Midas Arachamim to the Yud Gimel Midas Shatayra Nidreshes Behem, because we ask a stira. It says Venake and it says Lo Yanake. The Gemara says Hakeitzat Menake L'Shovim Ve'enim Menake L'Sheinam Shovim, and that's connected the Shnei Ksuvim Hamakrishim Zeh Hazeh Ashiyavah Yakosav Shlishim Yachriya Beineim. We explain with that midah the Nake Lo Yanake. So the midah of Shnei Ksuvim Hamakrishim Zeh Hazeh Ashiyavah Yakosav Shlishim Yachriya Beineim becomes this barer only through Torah Shebal Peh. And that's why minoisa kan kanim, nase neis lashoishanim, sheshoinim ba'alochis. And that be'emes is shaykh b'msuyim to the marocha against Yovon, that the Medrash says, shehoisa minameres b'gzeirosel al Yisrael. In other words, they appeared as an az kanomer, and they were saying, she'ein lochem chelik be'elokei Yisrael. What is this expression, ein lochem chelik be'elokei Yisrael? Chelik is Torah Shebal Peh. Chalkeinu b'soirasecha. What we're mechadish, as the Taz says, that Chalkeinu b'soirasecha is our part, our partnership, and that is the Chalkeinu b'soirasecha. Now the Chilek michachmosai is only liyareyof that are not megis daitom, and through the posela azus that the nomer shoyket al areim try to bring into us, the azus that is not balanced by boishes panim, leman tia yirosi al penechem. So we lose our chelik be'elokei Yisrael. In other words, we lose our ability. We lose our ability to be oisik in Torah Shebal Peh, and that's the zaydim biyad oiskei soira secha, because asik is Torah Shebal Peh, as the Taz says in Siman Mem Zayin. And the Zayd Yohir, Zaydim are Balei Gaiva. Zayd Yohir, the Pasuk says in Mishlei, that the Zayd Yohir that exaggerates in the Azus of his Gaiva, he is Paigeya in the Asik of Torah Shebal Peh B'Msuyim. And he's Metame, the Shmanim of the Chochmah. In any case, this Pachechot Shel Shemen was Chosum b'Choisamoi Shel Kohen Gadol, because the Choisam of Aaron is the Choisam of Boish v'Yorei Mila Geshes. Only through that do we have the Sifsei Kohen Yishmiru Das, preserves and watches over the Das, that the Das shouldn't cross the boundary and become the Azponim Legehenim, but it's Mitzurif with a Boishes Ponim Legan Eden, and that's the way to go. And therefore B'nai Bina, that Amevin Dover Mitoich Dover, is Kavu Shir Urinonim. Okay, I think that we're going to say we're going to wish you all a lichting in Chanukah, and we should be zoiche to be mamshich from Chanukah till all year.